never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine, I'm not.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Now that it's Tuesday, we are less than 2 weeks away from Christmas, so hopefully all you parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, whatever you are ready for the Christmas season, because it is upon us. But this absolute clown show that started late Sunday afternoon, early Sunday night, and went all the way through yesterday has to stop. It's an absolute joke. It's an embarrassment. And I'll talk more about that in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to tell you all the bowl games we have coming up this week. If you follow the channel, you know that one day last week I said that throughout the bowl season, I'm going to try to do what I do during the regular season and come on here sometime during the week and tell you all the bowl games that are coming up in the week. That way you can keep up, because there are so many. If I get on here before the bowl games start and tell you all the bowl games, there's no way you're going to remember. But I feel like if we do it on a week-by-week basis, it should be a little bit easier. This week, all the bowl games are on Saturday, so it'll feel like a normal Saturday during the regular season, because there will be football on all day long, starting at 11 o'clock a.m. Eastern Time. Now, for some of these bowl games, I'm going to tell you where they're going to be played at, but some of these bowl games tell you in the title of the bowl game where they're located. So if that doesn't help you out and give it away, there's just nothing I can do for you. But starting at 11 o'clock a.m. Saturday morning, we have the Myrtle Beach Bowl between Georgia Southern and the Ohio Bobcats. And then at noon on Saturday, we have the Cricket Celebration Bowl in Atlanta, and it is Howard versus Florida A&M. And the Celebration Bowl is still a pretty new bowl game. If you're not aware of what it is, it's basically the two best HBCU programs that year playing in a bowl game, because HBCU programs cannot play in big-time bowl games. They cannot go to the playoffs because they're HBCU programs. So they created a bowl game for the two best HBCU programs that year. And this year it's Howard and Florida A&M. And if you're not sure what HBCU stands for, it's Historical Black College or University. Then 3:30 Saturday from Orlando, we have the Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl. And it's confusing when it's called the Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl, because when you hear avocados from Mexico, you assume the bowl game is in New Mexico, but it's not. It's in Orlando, but it is the Avocados from Mexico Cure Bowl with Miami of Ohio versus Appalachian State. At 5:45 Saturday afternoon, we have the New Mexico Bowl between New Mexico State and Fresno State. Now, from my understanding, Fresno State's coach, Jeff Tedford, is going to miss this game because of health issues, but I'm not quite sure what those health issues are. But Jeff Tedford had a very good career when he was the head coach at California. Then they had a couple of bad seasons and they fired him, and California has sucked ever since then, and he has continued his winning ways coaching Fresno State. Then at 7:30 Eastern Time, Saturday night, we have the Starco Bowl. UCLA versus Boise State. Now, I'm going to call it the Starco Bowl, even though that's not actually what it's called. It's actually called the LA Bowl from Starco Brands, but the reason why I'm calling it the Starco Bowl is because to me this bowl game is going to be a joke. But the full name of it is the Starco Brands LA Bowl, hosted by Rob Gronkowski. Now, why in the world do we need a bowl game? And it tells you in the bowl game who's hosting it. So this is nothing but a way to get Rob Gronkowski some television time. So it is the Starco Brands LA Bowl, UCLA versus Boise State. That's going to be a clown show unless you like Rob Gronkowski. I'm not sure what he's going to do because he doesn't dance, he doesn't sing, and he's not calling the game in the booth. So how he's hosting it, I'm not really sure, but I guess you'll find out Saturday if you watch the Starco Brands LA Bowl. Then we have the Radiance Technologies Independence Bowl from Shreveport, Louisiana, 9:15 Eastern Time, Saturday night. California versus Texas Tech. And then there are no bowl games on Sunday. And then starting on Monday, there are a lot next week. We'll talk about that next week. But first, this whole thing with the Kansas City Chiefs that happened on Sunday, it's an absolute joke. And they are embarrassing themselves. And I think all it really is they have been so good since they drafted Patrick Mahomes that them struggling now is something they haven't had to go through. It's a new experience for them. And I think just the fact that, we're 14 weeks into the season, 13 games, and their offense just isn't getting any better. They just do not have a number one wide receiver. They do not have anybody they can trust in their wide receiver room. And I think Mahomes is just getting frustrated, and all this pressure from not performing this year is just adding up, and it got to him. But you're making yourself look foolish because they complained Sunday night and all day yesterday about the offsides call when it was clear that the receiver was offsides. But even if he wasn't, shut your mouth. This is why nobody wants to be a referee or an umpire in the world of baseball. And I've talked about it before, but this is another reason why nobody wants to do it. And if you follow the channel, you know that back when high school football was going on, I talked about one week how a game got moved up to Thursday night because they were out of officials. So they moved one game up to Thursday night, and there was a whole officiating crew that agreed to do one game Thursday night and then travel and do another game Friday night. Otherwise, one game would have had to been canceled because there were no officials. And this is why nobody wants to do it, because for some reason 95% of fans and players want to blame all their problems on the refs. And the players and the fans forget about the field goals your team missed. They forget about the passes your team drops. They forget about all the tackles your team misses. And all the other bad stuff that you do, whether it's throw interception, fumble the ball, all that gets scratched, and one bad call by referee cost you the game. It wasn't the 25 plays that you screwed up during the game. It was that one bad call by the referee. And the referee's always out to get every team, every fan base in America. Every time they lose, the refs are out to get you. Well, I got news for you. The referees cannot be out for every team in America. If they are, then who are they pulling for? If they're out to get everybody, then there's nobody left to pull for. But they're humans. They mess up. But in this situation, they got the call right. I mean, it was plain as day that Kadarius Toney was offsides. It wasn't close. And I'm not sure who, but yesterday I heard that one of those ESPN buffoons, I want to say it was Dan Orlovsky, but I could be wrong, but one of those ESPN buffoons said, yeah, they got the call right. He was offsides, but you can't call that at a time like that. Why not? Nowhere in the rule book does it say, well, it's a penalty, but if this is going on, it's not a penalty. No, a penalty is a penalty. And if you mess up, you mess up. But how do you think the refs feel? When they miss a call, everybody hates them. But then when they get the call right, everybody hates them. So what are they supposed to do? They're out there, and no matter what they do, it's wrong. But in this situation, they got it right. I don't care if it's 5 seconds to go in the game. If the guy is clearly offsides and everybody sees it, you can't not throw a flag. Because if you don't throw a flag, you look clueless when everybody watching on TV and everybody in the stadium can clearly see he's offsides. You know, there's an old adage in football that, you know, the refs could call offensive holding on every play if they wanted to. But typically, usually, most of the time, if it is nowhere near the actual play and doesn't affect the play, they don't throw a flag. But sometimes if it's egregious and everybody sees it, you have to. Otherwise, you look stupid. If the camera angle is on the offensive lineman and you see him holding somebody or tackling somebody, you've got to throw a flag. Well, Sunday night with the Chiefs, the way the camera was, everybody could see Toney lined up offsides. You have no choice but to throw a flag. But for Mahomes to come out and complain like this, do this one thing if you want to complain about the refs when they miss a call. But you look really childish and really immature and really stupid when you're complaining that they got the call right. Because I guarantee you, had they thrown a flag on the Bills for the same thing, Mahomes wouldn't come out and say, that receiver wasn't offsides. He would come out and say, that receiver was offsides. So if you wouldn't act that way for the other team, don't act that way for your own team, dude. Just be mad at Toney for lining up offsides. Instead of fussing at the referees when they get the call right, fuss at your own guy for lining up almost in the defensive backfield. That's his own doggone fault. But I think he's really mad because that's the only pass this year that Toney has caught. Now, I'm exaggerating some. It's not the first pass he's caught, but it does seem like Kadarius Toney has dropped 945 passes this year. And then the one pass you catch, you line up offsides, and the ball comes to you from your tight end. So why Tony can't catch a pass that Mahomes throws, I don't know. But I know there was at least one play that I can think of off the top of my head in that game where Tony was wide open and Mahomes hit him and he dropped it. And then on a play that Kelsey does by himself, it wasn't a design play, he done it by himself, Tony catches it. So he should be mad at Tony for dropping every pass that he throws to him and for lining up offsides, not mad at the referees because they got it right. But, I just want to know, what are these referees supposed to do when they miss a call? Everybody blames them and it's all their fault. But then when they get a call right, everybody blames them and it's all their fault. So when they throw a flag, they're wrong. When they don't throw a flag, they're wrong. And then we want to know why we're having trouble finding officials. And if I'm not mistaken, in baseball, basketball, and football, all three major sports, there is a shortage of officials. And this is why. Being an official is like being a kicker. You can go out there as a kicker and you can make 25 straight field goals and nobody cares. But you go out there at the end of a game and you miss a kick that cost your team the game and you get death threats. And I'm not exaggerating, it has literally happened. Well, being an official is the same way. These referees can go out there during these college or NFL games and get every call right, but then you miss one call and all of a sudden everybody wants to kill you. And I don't know why people have this mindset that it's okay for the players to mess up, but the referees can't mess up. Well, guess what? The players are human, the coaches are human, the referees are human. They're all going to mess up. They always have, they always will. And that's why I have always said, if you as a fan, or if you know somebody as a fan that blames their team's loss or losses on referees, don't talk to them anymore because they're stupid and they're clueless. There has never in the history of mankind in any sport been a game decided because a ref missed a call. Does that mean refs don't miss calls? No, because they do. But that just means they miss calls. Just like players drop passes. Just like kickers miss field goals. Just like quarterbacks miss wide open receivers. Just like quarterbacks make bad throws. Just like running backs fumble the ball. If all those things can happen, referees can also miss calls. It's gonna happen. Until you watch your team play and play an entire game where they've played the whole game, they didn't hold one time, they didn't fumble one time, the quarterback didn't throw one bad pass, the quarterback didn't take any bad sacks, the receivers didn't drop no passes, the punter didn't have any bad punts, the kicker didn't miss any field goals, none of the cornerbacks on defense got burned on deep passes downfield by the opposing team. Nobody on defense missed a tackle. Until you see all those things happen, you see your team play a perfect, flawless game, then don't blame the referees because they don't have perfect, flawless games. It happens. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. My doctor just diagnosed me with a severe lack of awareness. That came out of nowhere. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of three. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.